reform in Scotland. Michelle Ballantye, welcome to you. I suppose, in truth, there were a number of topics which people felt ought to have been discussed more. I mean, the obvious one being lockdown and COVID, but I didn't hear much about the union either.
No, the union hasn't seemed to feature at all as they whittled down their candidates, but I suspect it'll come firmly onto the discussion now we're down to two. And I think what we're, certainly in Scotland, what we're looking for is a leader who shows a very clear position and has a good understanding of the union and the impact that their actions have in Scotland. I think both of them have indicated that they will stick with the position that Boris Johnson had taken, that they would not support the issuing a Section 30. And I think that's probably going to be very positive for most Conservative members. But I think we also need to hear a little bit more about how they're going to handle that, because it isn't just about saying, no, I'm not going to do that. It's about what they then do afterwards. And I think one of the problems with the Conservative Party is they say no, and then they feature it all over their leaflets. They continue to discuss it. If you're going to say no, that's not important, we're going to feature on the other things. We're going to drive the economy. We're going to make sure small businesses can flourish. We're going to get funding to where it's needed. I mean, there's a great scheme going on through the Levelling Up Fund at the moment where money is coming to councils to actually do the projects they want to do. But if they keep then talking about the potential for separation, they bring it back onto the agenda. So I think it's time that we heard a clear position about how they're going to tackle the cost of living crisis for families, how they're going to get inflation under control, and how they're going to benefit Scotland through increasing productivity and increasing the ability to Scotland to compete on a world market. The benefits of Brexit, really.
Yeah, exactly. And Michelle Ballantyne, they're all policy issues. Just in terms of the personality aspect to this, I mean, there was a view, wasn't there, rightly or wrongly, that Boris Johnson, foppish old Etonian, drove voters, Scots, into the arms of the Scots nationalists. I mean, by that argument, it's anybody's better than Boris.
I think if that were entirely true, you would be hearing a massive clamour up here. That hasn't happened. I think that is a line that has been used because the Yes movement, grasp hold of anything that they can think of to try and make things sound terrible. The reality is that the position towards separation hasn't improved at all. And if you look at the polls, if anything, since Boris came down, it kind of went up slightly and now it's come back down and people are much more back with that sort of positive for the union. So I don't think that is actually a true line. But I do think that it's important that we have a leader that actually engages with Scotland on a positive level, because I think there has been a habit of not doing, and you cannot have the Scottish Conservatives plastering it all over their leaflets and then a Prime Minister who doesn't seem interested. I genuinely think Boris was more interested than he got credit for, certainly maybe latterly and around the levelling up side of it. But I think the two people we've now got in front of us, they've both come up to Scotland. Liz Truss obviously lived in Scotland briefly when she was young.
She's mentioned
neither
Paisley.
Of them.
She's mentioned being born in Paisley loads of times, hasn't she? Michelle, we've got to leave it there. We're out of time, but thanks so much for yours.